Hello, it's May 9th, 2024, and haven't done a walkthrough video of the garden in a couple weeks, so thought I would do one now. We've just had a lot of rain in the last couple of days, had over 3 inches. I think it was 2 days ago, and then another inch or so today. So things are very green. Things are growing fast. You can almost watch things grow right now, especially the grass. Here, these are service berries. Looks like a nice fruit set on those. Pollinators were working overtime apparently. So I did start grafting this last few days. I started grafting gumi and autumn olive. So I may point out a few grafts as we go along. There's a little one right there. I did probably almost 20 grafts of those two things. So because it's been fairly warm and wet, I'm kind of watching out for disease. I've been afraid to graft my pears because I thought it might be prime fire blight infection time. So most of the flowering shrubs have kind of finished, although there's always a few. So the autumn olives are still flowering, gumis are still flowering. This quince is about to. This poor pear got flopped over in a heavy rain event, so I've got to get that propped up a little bit better. And the deer have done the favor of eating all the leaves off that branch. So yeah, there are still some shrubs that are about to, going to flower. Red osier dogwood will, Rose of Sharon still will, and a bunch of other things. Lilacs are blooming right now still. Pawpaws are blooming. These little pawpaws here are not big enough, but I do have probably had 6 or 8 pawpaws this year that did flower with quite a number of flowers. So as I go around, this one does have one little proto flower on it there, but that's probably not going to mean anything. So last year's grafts, I'm going to have to go around. I've been slowly removing the tape and parafilm on these things to give them more breathing room. I don't think that graft made it anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but the ones that did survive, do that for. Golden Alexanders is sort of the first prairie flower blooming for the season. There's gumi there. Had flowers on these seed-grown peaches this year. Those are the only ones that did flower. All the cultivar peaches must have got zapped and they did not flower. So yeah, you may have seen I've been topping up my wood chip paths here and there, trying to make it a little more presentable. Lots of birds singing now. The Siberian pea shrub is just kind of finishing off its flower. Just the last remnants here. Interesting little pea flowers. A lot of bumblebees on those, and actually you can see the fruits are starting to form, little seed pods. They kind of make little tiny lentil type things. This pear's got a pretty good fruit set. This is Harrow Sweet, and I'm watching like a hawk for fire blight because I had a devastating fire blight year about 6-7 years ago, and it killed almost every pear tree I had. The birdsong is so pretty. Little leaf linden regrowing from the ashes there, and the honey locust behind it also kind of trying to regrow. So here we've got some typical deer bullshit, eating all the leaves off this graft. You can see in the cage it's not eaten off. This is an Asian pear, so that's pretty funny. Gotta love the deer. This nannyberry is about done flowering. Its flowers are all pointed down, maybe from the weight of the rain we've had. So yeah, things are just looking pretty lush and pretty green. So I thought it'd be good to kind of take a snapshot here. I think we'll see lots more mushrooms growing. I'm seeing quite a few coming out today. Didn't find a single morel this year, which is I don't know, not that big of a deal. I don't really look for them either, but usually I step on at least a couple of them. Here we've got ostrich fern and Dame's rocket just starting to flower. Dame's rocket smells great. It is an edible weed. Got some purple irises here about to go. Here, the ferns did get frosted a bit, but then they regrew. Haven't had a frost here in a couple of weeks. The wild, what do they call that? Woodland phlox is kind of wrapping up. That's a wonderful smell. Got some poison ivy I got to deal with on that tree there. Nettles are going apeshit. My nursery area is got some stuff here. Potted up a bunch of stuff to give away. The Michigan Nut Growers meeting is in a couple of days, so I'm going to bring a few plants to that. That seems to always be a hit. Got some various things, chestnuts, some wildflowers, raspberries, willows, lots of stuff. Got some little chinkapin chestnuts there I'm gonna try to get homes for. This bed, not a lot of action yet, but we do have a little bit of leaf out on some black currants and some maybe elderberry and some red currants and some grapes starting to pop down there. I noticed that my chipmunk buddies have been back for the season because they're starting to dig shit up. So that's annoying. Water tanks are full from all that nice rain we've had. Just kind of missed the flowers of clove currant. Those wrapped up in the last week or so. It smelled great. They might have been sort of shown in my last video. Did some willow cuttings in much tighter spacings here this year to try to avoid some of the problems I had in the grow beds last year where they grew 6-foot long roots. So hopefully that will work okay. But yeah, you'll probably see lots of mushrooms and nothing really great, just incidental stuff. Got some elderberry and willow here. These last few bort nuts are gonna go home with somebody on Tuesday, apparently. This is what they looked like last year. Actually, some of them had a double dormancy. So you'll see there's a few that I found when I was digging that I replanted. The nuts were just sprouting this spring. So in this area, overgrown mess area, the deer are clipping that flame willow into a topiary. All my currants and honeyberries, the deer just massacre every year. So I think I'm gonna have to dig some of these new honeyberries up and move them into my fenced garden areas because that's the only way I seem to be able to keep some things alive, let alone get any fruit off of them. The nannyberry there, that's kind of wrapping up its flowering. Yeah, lots of mushrooms here if you look down, and something's even eating the little comfrey that I stuck here. I don't know if that's a groundhog or a deer. Could be attractive to either one. So I don't know if I'll walk all the way through here, but lilac flowering. Cedar apple rust is out in force with all this wetness we're having. Yeah, more autumn olives, more service berries. And I'm curious to see how bad the cedar apple rust problem will get this year because we've had a few weeks now where it's been showing on the cedar trees. That is a Guelder rose, the stupid European high bush cranberry flowering. I have 3 of them that are supposed to be the American species that had never amounted to anything. Maybe the deer keep browsing them down to nothing. Here's a pawpaw that I grafted last year, and there's the graft, maybe you can see it, and it's got a little leaf out, so optimistic that that may amount to something. It smells like pretty funky autumn olive flowers over here, pretty strong. There's a pear graft from last year, Asian pear, another possible pear rootstock. There's another aromatic quince on Asian or Callery pear. This tall one here, that's an apple that grew probably 4 or 5 feet last year. That's great. These other apples didn't fare so well. The deer really seem to have a taste for them there and there. Those are Candy Crisp. This gooseberry, does it have a couple little possible maybe fruits? Yeah, has a few possibly. We'll see if they get any size to them. That's been a pollination problem. I've never really had fruits on that. The pear that I grafted a couple years ago, growing strong. Took half of the top of that off just to relieve it of some of its weight. Here are a couple little autumn olive grafts over here. This is a double header, so if one of these takes, that'll be good. Usually I do the same. This is Catherine's Fine Seedling number 2. Usually do the same one on the same plant. Well, although I did mix one of them up and did a gumi and an autumn olive just to be cheeky and see if that takes. There's amber autumn olive onto that one. So the chestnuts are just starting to leaf out over here, and hopefully we're done with frost. It would be, I mean, it's not uncommon to have frost this time of year, but we're pretty well advanced in the season with the phenology. I was out scouting just now for ambrosia beetles. So here, this is a chestnut there. Black locust is just starting to get a few leaves. The invasive honeysuckles, of course, are well leafed out and flowering. Flowers smell good. smell great. So usually I try to cut those down or cut them back after the flowering, but before the fruit set, if I remember to. Here I wanted to show my pond, test pond. This is only, well, the water level's, I'd say, 2 feet below the ground surface now, so that's pretty high. It's about as high as I've seen it in quite a while. There is a willow tree that planted itself in there, which is funny. I guess they really can seek out those little spots that are wetter than the rest. So yeah, lots of adolescent chestnuts through here, prime candidates for ambrosia beetle damage. So scouting there. You can still see a bit of a white dogwood, Cornus Florida, flowering back there. And yeah, I'm making this a quicker video hopefully today because chance of rain, it's sprinkling a little bit, and more chance of it coming. What do they call these things? Jesus, I'm blanking on the name. Buckthorn, sea buckthorn. There we go. These are growing strong, this one plant. I did mow and should come over the side and really get between these trees. We did some mowing and mulching. You can see mulch piles, try to squash the grass a little bit and just clean up this area. I grafted some different apples and pears onto root sprouts in here. So this hasn't looked this neat in a couple of years. I've got Virginia creeper growing through here. These pink flags where there is nothing, I'm going to plant, try to replant more chinkapin chestnuts. I planted a few of those last year, I think, but they did not make it. I think I direct seeded a bunch and none of them grew. Had one that sort of took and then died out of, I don't know, a dozen or something. So don't think I'm going to walk all the way back there. Have a graft of Illinois everberry mulberry that's growing okay, starting to leaf out. This is a chestnut graft from last year. I don't know if it's leafing out, so we'll see. I don't know if I believe it until it's been a few years in, because they tend to have graft failure. I should show this hickory. I think this is a shagbark, if I'm not mistaken, and the deer murder it every year. This thing's been here for 12 or 13 years, and it's only 5 feet tall. So putting these dumb cages around it kind of has helped protect it from browse a little bit, but I've really got to put a proper metal cage. You can see they got these really fantastical looking growths that come out this time of year. It looks very alien. So yeah, deer love those. I have to definitely cage that one if I want it to ever get taller than me and maybe, God forbid, have nuts someday. And then this one over here, I'm pretty sure this is a shellbark hickory, but look at these crazy leaf remnants from last year. I think these kind of shed as the new leaves come on, and the deer are not so much onto this one, so that's interesting. It looks very similar. Probably has the same nice kind of fragrance. Oh yeah, it's a nice smell to the leaves. But yeah, they must not be as palatable. So for whatever reason, oh, there's lupine. Jesus, I guess all my lupine has pretty much died off on this site. I kind of forgot that I even had any. But this one little site, it's one little spot, it's doing great. It's got good sunlight here next to a driveway. Of course, it's rainy and cold. There's no bees out, but that's a nice little stand. I think I bought a whole flat of those one year, like 38 plugs, and planted them, in many places around this garden. And that's the only place I've noticed them flowering left. So yeah, whatever percentage that works out to be, not very high. A lot of attrition here at this site. Maybe that's what I should call this garden. Chinkapin chestnuts are leafing out. I've got lots of babies of these. These are supposed to be gall wasp resistant. And I think we got a little touch of frost damage. Some very small tentative leaves had come out on some of these trees and then got nipped by the frost. Look at this. This has already got the beginnings of flowers, male catkins forming. So this is all on new growth that this happens. And this tree has a little bit of blight. You can see in there, it's got some dead leaves from last year, but it's still going pretty strong. I got some hope for it. My timber chestnut tree, looking great. Does not seem to be any damage from ambrosia beetles on that. And not too much frost damage that I can see. Got a hazelnut growing at the base there, and also some poison ivy got to deal with. So yeah, it's kind of that transitional time of spring where the leaves are not in full leaf yet. I'm sorry, the trees are not in full leaf yet. But you get that kind of pretty light color showing up. Sometimes it almost looks like a Bob Ross fan brush painting with these young light colored leaves coming on. And different things leaf out at different times, like these false indigos. They're pretty late to leaf out, so they usually miss the frost. There's some interesting little growths there. Those are probably going to become flowers. Nice little mossy canopy down here, or not canopy, ground cover. So this trail has maybe just enough shade to support moss. And oh boy, what do we got flowering here? Dewberries flowering already? That seems really early. Huh. Yeah, I've not, didn't really walk around much to prepare this video, so I'm noticing things as on the fly. Cedar apple rust looking pretty nasty on there. Looks like little Christmas ornaments. And I think there might be a towhee, I don't know how you pronounce that word, bird nesting right around here, because I scared it away earlier when I was walking by, and it had a real distinctive call. Quite a pretty song, but it was probably a panic song, like, who's this idiot walking around my home here? So yeah, we'll just kind of do a quick scan through the back here. Autumn olive is pretty prominently flowering. There's a serviceberry that seems to have finally gotten out of a deer's range for nibbling the central leader off. A little chestnut here, trying to give a little bit better mulch and care to some of these chestnuts that are more important ones. Serviceberry that never has looked too great. And I wonder if this American plum thicket is kind of half dead. That whole area there looks bad. This area here's in leaf, but that something going on over there on that side. Don't know what. Some new shoot growth of eastern white pine. It's our state tree. Another pathetic looking serviceberry that's got, you know, moss or lichen growing on the bark. Does not look vigorous at all. What else? Did a lot of wood chip mulching, and you can see the grass is already growing through it, especially with all this rain that we've had. And that grass is just going to come right through. And then more apples. I've really got to put a proper cage around if I want the deer to stay off of them. Oak trees in leaf, and this one had some real funky things happening last year. These growth, I looked this up now, I can't remember off the top of my head what caused that, if it was a type of gall or what. I think it may be a gall reaction. This is something in the bur oak family, and look at that corky, thick twig that's got. Something kind of prehistoric looking about that. It's cool. But yeah, I did a pretty significant wood chipping, mulching around some of these things this spring. Like that one probably has not had that many wood chips in 10 years. So that may give us a good flush of growth this year, or give us a little protection against drought if we get a droughty summer. Serviceberry there. This oak tree's got an interesting look to it. I thought maybe it had flowers, but those are just the little developing leaves. Maybe no flowers just yet. This wild black cherry has got pretty much full leaf and actually starting to flower. Maybe you can see there. So that'll be a bee. There'll be a buzz with bees here any day now. Those are just about to open. Another oak tree that I planted. This one has a real light colored leaf right now. Pretty trees. And I think oak trees, you know, mostly are well suited to this site. Historically, it would have had a lot of oaks on it as a dominant feature. The Bergamble oak got a pretty good leaf coming on, and looks like the beginnings of flowers. So there's a bunch of new chestnuts, and then some ginkgos, and I think I planted a Kentucky coffee tree out here also. There are some evergreens filling in, or there's ones that I planted that, I don't know, deer or diseases have done various things to. So this one, the whole top is missing. You know, there's different insect afflictions and things that can happen to these, worms and God knows what. So that one has no top anymore. And then this thing looks pretty gnarly too, but that's just a wild one I did not plant. And same with that red cedar, I didn't plant that. These little seedlings I didn't plant there probably came, no, not from that one, that's a different species. From these taller ones maybe in the old hedgerow property line. So there's a white pine in the distance there that I planted, that's growing really well. Let's see if any of these chestnuts, yeah, this has a little bit of leaf out there. That's good, but these got mulched, which they probably are thankful for. There's a bunch of little birches that I planted probably 10 or more years ago, and they've never done much. I did give them a little bit of mulch this year. And here's a chestnut that I thought had died, but actually it's still alive, and then I planted a ginkgo, I think. Oh shit, I got bindweed coming out. Mother, damn it. That's not what I want to see. No, this is, yeah, ginkgo. Jade butterfly, pretty floral name for that, but that's just a tiny plant, so we'll see what that ever becomes. Double stemmed apple with two grafts on it. I don't remember if they're two different varieties or the same variety. I don't know if there's any fruit formation. This could have got frosted maybe. It did flower. Be nice if it fruited, but I don't think it's going to. Even if the rootstock fruits, that would make me pretty happy, because that was a very interesting and fairly tasty apple from the rootstock. It was a small crab apple, but I like the flavor of it, even kind of in the middle of winter. So we've got some mostly dead autumn olive here, some oaks that are slow to leaf out, red oak type. Here, this thing that the deer really got onto this winter. Shredded that bark up pretty well. I don't expect this thing would really survive, but I guess stranger things have happened. Got some wild strawberries in the understory here. Hazelnut that I did not plant. The animals moved that around from somewhere to here. So this is kind of the back corner of my property, my site. Probably should get out of the habit of saying property. That sounds pretty colonial. I'm just here on borrowed time, doing what I can do for a while, and then, you know, I don't really own something. You have possession of it in a way, but it's not like I created all this earth and trees and everything. I'm just the dummy whose name is on the deed for the moment. There's some little, I think these are chinkapin oaks there, the dead autumn olive, native wild rose, wildflower garden that's never really done much of anything except grow some kind of a weird clover. Whatever this clover is, I can't remember the name of it. Pretty strange. Has a little bit of Monarda, a little bit of, used to have brown-eyed Susan or black-eyed Susan, very dominant. Don't really see much of that anymore. In my persimmon area here, hopefully my grafts that I did last year have made it through the winter. That's kind of a trial. The first winter or two after a graft is done with persimmons, it's a little sketchy. Now that one, this had great growth. I don't remember if this is proc or something, but I've got to get this kind of nasty tape off of here, this parafilm, let this heal over. If that grows so vigorously again, I may want to cut that back just so it doesn't grow too heavy, too top heavy and snap off, you know, in a windstorm or something. But got lots more candidates for grafting. I've got a bunch of probably, I don't know, 8 or 12 types of cultivars of persimmon cyanwood that I ordered. So I'm excited to graft some more. And God, you know, one of these years, that needs to be cleaned up. One of these years I may get to taste a persimmon that I grew. How amazing would that be after waiting, you know, since 2011 or something. So yeah, the false indigos that I coppiced are just leafing out, and actually looks like I never came and cleaned up some of the poles that I cut. These are 2-year poles. They're thicker. The 1-year poles I think I could use for almost like bamboo stakes. This material, it's kind of a awkward size. I don't know what you could really do with it. It's fairly straight. It doesn't seem to make too many sub branches until the 2nd year, and even then it's fairly naked stem. Grass growing very vigorously where there's some wood debris dumped. I did plant a flat of these rosin weeds around the garden 1 year. Also, maybe the same year I did the the lupine, and you'd think the lupine would be really, really happy here, but it seems to have pretty much faded away. But these rosin weeds, you can see they make some good growth and actually a pretty good amount of biomass. But I planted these almost in the hedgerow in places because they're so large that they're almost like a shrub. So yeah, some of my grafts from last year look like they are surviving, which is great. The sumac is kind of late to leaf out, which is cool because that allows some light down to the ground later, where other plants can grow in the spring. Maybe get some spring ephemerals in there once the system is a little more mature. It starts to get a little more complex. Some hazelnuts here, more hazelnuts. Got a couple black locusts here that I grew from seed. There's some Japanese walnuts in the distance there. What else? I've come up with some more pawpaws here. I think there's about, I'd say 6 pawpaws, maybe 5 or 6, if they're still alive. Little grafts took very tentatively, so I wouldn't count on them just yet. I did cut the, in the right-of-way here, there's all this sumac that wants to grow out into the roadway, so I did bring the loppers and spend an hour or so cleaning all this crap up and piling it around the target, crop trees, which in this case is a surface berry. There's another one there that the deer are murdering. Then there's one, actually this is a multi-stemmed one here. It's got a bunch of stems, so I need to kind of get that some more protection, but I'd almost forgotten about it. And then I think I've kind of walked over it, but I do have a few good patches of downy sunflower, which is what this stuff right here is. And I think my sunchokes have pretty much faded out in this strip here, but there's more downy sunflower. At one time there were alternating, every 10 feet or so, there was downy sunflower mixed with sunchokes off and on. The sunchokes I think have pretty much been eliminated by the deer because they really have a taste for those. They don't seem to bother the downy sunflower as much. That's a little sunchoke there. So here we have a graft from a few years ago of a pear. Did it set any fruit? Nah, maybe not. It looks like it flowered, but don't see any little fruitlets on there, so maybe next year. We'll see. What else? That might be close to the end here. Trying to mulch where things need mulch. Didn't point out many of my autumn olive grafts, but there's, like I said, there's probably almost 20 of them around. Some of them are in the hedgerow, various places. So I think with that, that'll just about do it. Oh, I did mow my grapes and pile some mulch up around them too. So I'm hoping to, I put stakes in where some stakes were missing. Here's another little autumn olive graft. These are places where I tried direct seeding chinkapins last year and then none of them took. So I'm going to try direct seeding one there and one here, kind of like an inner hedgerow. The hazelnuts and whatever else is about that size will be the outer hedgerow, and the chinkapins will be a little bit taller. So there's a nanny berry there. But just to show you these grapes since they look better than they normally look. So yeah, there's I think 10 or maybe there's 8 or 9 left that are alive. But yeah, there used to be 10 or 12 grapes here, and some of them are still alive. I've got maybe 2 that have borne any fruit. This one is the Vigoro one. That one's the best one that has borne fruit every year for the last several years. I got one nice asparagus in here. The deer didn't get it because of this cage. That's a nice purple one. But I did have asparagus between every one of these grapes, and I think it's kind of gone. But anyway, I need to do some more pruning now that I think we're done with frost and tying up, so we get like a single stem with kind of, this has at least 2 stems, which is not ideal, but anyway, want like a single stem, sort of like an umbrella shaped plant is the idea. So anyway, thanks for watching. See a lot of work that needs to be done. Need to cut down these bunch grasses and use that as mulch and then let the new stuff grow. But I have been clearing away lots of my wood chips. I think I've done 15 or 16 loads of wood chips, pickup loads, and then a bunch of wheelbarrow loads also. Making way for the new wood chips that will come, and also just getting that stuff out in the landscape where it's actually useful and not just growing grass and sumac crap. Water tanks are all full. Thank Jesus for that. Nice rains we've had. Just kidding. So yeah, thanks for watching, and thank you for following along. Little currants and some ornamental alliums I planted here. We'll see if they make it. All right, have a good day. Thank you. Bye.